CJ on the track.
Got a governor of college football hat on, check. Got a little Bull Rush shirt on, check. Welcome to another marvelous episode. It's Friday. Typically, we don't do Friday episodes. I was supposed to do an episode yesterday, but when I tell you this week has been an interesting week, it's been an interesting week, so my apologies for not going live. But like I always do, I am going to get a good people of this college football world for live episodes a week for just my show, because I do other shows as well. Our episodes. We got a lot on today's docket. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about college football 26 just relieved their gameplay deep dive. You guys know I'm a huge college football 20. Yeah, I'm not just a huge fan of the series overall. So we're going to talk about my thoughts of it, my true and honest thoughts of the game. Also on today's docket, it's magazine season. So we're going to look at Athlon Sports playoff projections. And I will note this now, and I'll say it again later once we get into it. This was before they moved the auto bids. So now that the auto bids are gone, it's going to look a little bit different because you not guaranteeing those 4 spots to conference winners anymore. So we're going to look at that. Also, we're going to look at Athlon Sports. They projected the finish of the Big 12 and who they think the best Big 12 teams are. So we're going to look at that on the Around the Nation segment. Governor College Football, hashtag go CFB. CFB Nation, your only college football destination. Let's get it. Governor of college football, we're going to recap ACC.
Hey, that's
Two great
CJ on
defensive
the
minds.
track.
They have to be better on that side of the Alrighty, so let's get into the news, man. Shout out to my boy Moon, man. Moon been going crazy, man. I look at somebody in this space who's putting out content at the rate that he's putting out content. I know for sure that I motivate him. He motivate me. Also, I got something huge in the works. Somebody big in the college football community. Somebody like if you a 1%er like we are, you know exactly who this person is. And we're going to bring some content for you together at Big 12 Media Days. I'm not going to spoil who it is just yet. But when I tell you that it's big, it's big. So we got something big in the works. And over the course of this show, we're going to start reaching out to more people. Already got somebody in mind that's going to be at like our recruiting czar. And he's going to be giving us recruiting updates every week. I know people that are huge into, the Devi and, CFF. I want to have a guy that comes on and we talk about that every week. So as this show grows, we'll start having people come on and do weekly segments. And that's pretty good. We're cool with a lot of people, man. That's the fun thing about it. But let's get into the news. Let's talk about some college football news, man. I feel like not going live yesterday. Moon said it as well. He's like, something ain't feel right. He said it was 4 o'clock and you went live. It just didn't feel right. So I'm going to bring that energy on this episode. So Drew Allar, QB1 energy for 2026. Drew Allar stock is skyrocketing. And it's funny, just a few seasons ago, it seemed like a lot of people weren't fans of Drew Allar, just to be honest with you. And it seemed like that perspective has changed. I think people are starting to see that Penn State and all the talent that Penn State has and all of the I's are starting to be dotted, all of the T's are starting to be crossed. You look at their coordinator pairing, I believe it's the best coordinator pairing of all of college football with Andy Kolodnicki and Jim Knowles. Things are really coming together, arguably the best running back room in all of college football. So there's a lot of people who are starting to believe in Drew Allar. CFB Nation, we've been huge fans of Drew Allar for a very long time, and we didn't understand the disgust with Drew Allar, to be honest with you. But Albert Breer just named Penn State quarterback as his early pick for QB1 in the 2026 NFL draft. If you guys don't know who Albert Breer is, he's truly an NFL insider. And every year, like during a draft, if I want to know who the pick is before the NFL announce it, I'm, loading and looking at, I'm refreshing his page every 2 seconds because he's always announcing the pick before the NFL announced the pick. So if Albert Breer is feeling he's the quarterback one for the 2026 class, I trust that the intel that he's been able to collect shows that he may be truly the number one quarterback, for this class. So I'm expecting big things out of Penn State this year. I'm expecting national championship vibes for this team. So it's cool to see this. Last season he quietly leveled up 3,327 passing yards, 25 touchdowns, just 8 interceptions. I know he only threw like 2 did the season before that. Completion percentage of 65%. And that's with not a loaded wide receiver room, if we're being honest, right? We're going to always, talk candidly on this show. So Drew Allar getting QB1 vibes. It's still early. It's very early in the season because, we've seen over these last couple of years, like heading into the 2024 season, it was almost a foregone conclusion that Carson Beck was going to be the number one quarterback of the 2025 NFL draft. It was really a foregone conclusion. We go a few years earlier, it was a foregone conclusion heading into the 2022 NFL draft. Maybe it was 23 that Spencer Rattler was going to be the number one quarterback in the draft, and all he had to do was show up. So these things change. I believe there's quarterbacks that's going to make huge jump. Sawyer Robertson, if you've been watching this show for a while, you know that I'm a huge Sawyer Robertson fan, and I believe he's going to make a jump in this upcoming NFL draft. I just believe in his talent. I just believe what Baylor is going to do this season. They're my pick out of the Big 12 for sure. So we talked about Drew Allar. Let's get into our next news topic. Athlon Sports top 10 quarterback units for 2025. Who's really got the juice? So Athlon Sports is magazine season. I keep both of these magazines close. Got a lot of traveling to do, so I'll continue to deep dive into these magazines, and we'll continue to have segments on these magazines. So let's look at who they got number one. They said the number one quarterback room is, at Texas. They got Arch Manning, headlines the group. I had redshirt freshman Trey Owens and freshman KJ Lacey, both 4-star guys, and we got a stable loaded with blue chip pedigree. Clemson's number 2, Cade Klubnik, after a 3,636-yard touchdown breakout. He's backed up by Christopher Vizina. I don't know why I was struggling with that. Another blue trooper ready if needed. LSU is number 3 with Garrett Nussmeier. You guys know I'm a huge Garrett Nussmeier fan. So I like the fact that they're number 3. Number 4, South Carolina, Lenore Sellers and Company. Lenore Sellers is the real deal. And he's already been hyped as one of the most electric sophomores in the country. With Harrison Bailey and 4-star Tramel Jones behind him. I'm sorry, this is South Carolina. Lenore Sellers, he's out. Number 5 is Florida. DJ Lagway broke out late in 2024 and has been hyped as one of the most electric sophomores in the country with Harrison Bailey and 4-star Tramel Jones behind him. Florida has options. Number 6, they got Penn State as the 6th best quarterback class. This is Athlon Sports ratings. This isn't my ratings. At 7, Ohio State. They said it's a battle, but it's talent 1. Julian saying that Lincoln Kyle holds a battling for QB1. A lot of people don't believe that this is a battle. They believe this is, Julian Sand's job to lose. I believe it's a legitimate battle. Number 8, Arizona State. A lot of people like Sam Leavitt. I'm a Sam Leavitt fan too, and I don't want people to think that I'm not a Sam Leavitt fan just because that I believe that Sawyer Robertson is the best quarterback in the Big 12. I just believe in the kid's talent. That's all it is. It's nothing against Sam Leavitt. I think Sam Leavitt even showed that he had immense amount of talent while he was in East Lansing before he even landed in Arizona State. So I like it. He's flanked by veteran Jeff Sims and giving the Sun Devils a potent 1-2 punch. Miami, Carson Beck transferred in from Georgia and brings SEC experience with him. Emory Williams and 4-star freshman Luke Nickel at development upside Oregon. With Dylan Gabriel going to the NFL. It's the Dante Moore show. And how well do you think that Dante Moore will perform? I think this list is really interesting. I think it's interesting from a multitude of perspectives. While I'm super high on Big 12 quarterbacks, I believe Big 12 quarterbacks, I think they're the best quarterbacks of any conference. I don't think it's close. And we're seeing other people start to have the same belief as well. I saw Greg McElroy say something like he thought that the Big 12 had the best quarterback. So I love when I see, people that I respect in this community kind of thinking the same way that I'm thinking. Like, yeah, I look at the Big 12, I look at how dynamic their quarterbacks is, and I'm 100% confident with that. So another breaking news, Ross Dallinger, somebody I'm a huge fan of. I think he does a great job with his reporting, and he has such a unique style too. So like when I'm reading the articles that he do, I'm super engaged with the articles, and kind of been talking about like a calendar crisis, portal wars, signing day shifts, and revenue reality. A major shift is coming, and the battle lines is drawing. SEC coaches like Kirby Smart and Brian Kelly want window portal to stay in January. That way they can lock in their rosters and develop them in the spring. But Big Ten ADs and industry leaders like Ohio State, Ross Bjork are lobbying for an April portal window, and we kind of seeing that. I want to call it a Cold War. I'm not going to call it just beef yet, but like the Big Ten and SEC, something not quite right. It just isn't. You can watch it and you can tell, like, you ever got homies, like y'all all grew up together, and like it's always homies what's inside of your group, even though you cool with everybody, they might not get along. Like I grew up on Leverett Street, and there's 99% of everybody get along with it, but there's a couple people like our, auras just don't mesh. Like we shouldn't probably be in the same room for too long, or something's going, gonna go down. Like that's why I feel like that. Like the Big Ten and SEC are supposed to be in cahoots. They're supposed to be able to kind of guide what the future of the sport is, via, whether it's the portal, whether it's the college football playoff, how many teams are going to be, how the college football playoff committee should elect these teams, et cetera, et cetera. But it seems like there's just some things that are happening. Like we saw Brett Bielema clap back, not necessarily at Diego Pavia, but he's letting it be known like Diego ain't talking like this just to be talking like this. He's being fed this information. So it just seems to be something. So I think it should be one portal window. I do believe that the portal window should stay in January. That way the coaches know who their rosters are. By the start of your circuit training, by the start of spring camp, you know who your rosters are. Now you can construct those rosters, develop those rosters appropriately. So I'm 100% for it. I don't like the late window portal. I think it's kind of stupid because, when you look at it, the grand scheme of things, I think some of these kids are what? I don't know if they got to if they enter the portal and still got to finish out the semester. I don't know how that works because I know a lot of semesters don't end until, middle of May or early May. So how does this work? So those type of questions I have. But if you had the portal window, did he give these kids a lot of days to decide where they're going? Before the winter semester starts or whatever you want to call it, spring semester starts. You know who your roster is. I think just logistically, as far as the scholastic calendar, it just makes sense. So that's what I am for. But here's the chaos in motion. Coaches want stability heading into spring ball. I agree. Admins want alignment with academic and financial planning. That's something else that I've already mentioned. Revenue sharing rules are now law, and unspent money won't roll over to the next year. An NCAA approved August 1st offer date is its first domino. Signing might happen slowly after that. Plus, the AFCA is proposing major changes to spring practices, possibly pushing padded practices into summer OTA style like the NFL. I don't like that. Spring ball is it's so pivotal. I think spring ball, even though it's super pivotal for the teams and the coaches and kind of know where their players at, it's super pivotal for the people like us, the one percenters who talk about the sport 365. It's giving us something to talk about, especially as you collect information and collect intel and you're able to say, hey, this is what we're hearing out of Columbus. So, hey, this is what we're hearing out of College Station. This is what we're hearing out of Ann Arbor. It gives you a lot of talking points to talk about. Like, the longer I do this, I think the off season, even though that's not a verbiage that we use here at CFB Nation, but, when you look at it from the grand scheme of things, creating episodes and doing content has never been easier. I would say it'll probably been a lot easier back in 2020 if you started around there in 2019 versus now, because you got so many different entities that produce daily college football news. So that's why I formulated the show the way that I formulated the show, where we start off with news segment and I'm giving you one-liners on how I feel about it, and then we get into the core of the show. It's never been easier to make college football content, so I like it. So I think the OTAs will offer something different where it gives us like that dead period that we have after spring season and before fall camp start. That'll be cool, but I would love to see these players in pads. I think the players in pads in the spring matter, probably for the freshmen more than anything, especially when you think about the early enrollees. So I think that would be spectacular as well. So the bottom line, the NCAA isn't tinkering anymore. They're re-engineering the way you recruit, train, retrain, and pay players. It's all about to change dramatically, and with July 1st as the tipping point, there's no time left to stall. What was once a calendar built for amateurs is now being rebuilt for professionals. I agree with that 100%. And only the adaptive programs will survive. I agree with that as well. So that's all of our Into the News segment. Up next, we're going to get into this Governor React segment. And we're going to react to Athlon Sports playoff bracket. Let's go ahead and switch that up right now. So it's always interesting when I look at brackets and I look at preseason things. And I noted this earlier when I did the cold opening for the show, that this bracket was formulated on the basis of that there will be auto bids. As we know, it was announced that they're getting rid of the auto bid system. And for anybody who kind of don't understand the auto bid system, it was just like those, you win your conference championship, you automatically get a first round bye. They got rid of that. That's no longer a thing. So, the top 4 teams can all be from one conference realistically. Now, would I think that happened? No. But is it possible that we can get 2 Big Ten teams or 2 SEC teams as the top 4 seeded teams, in the college football playoff? That's very possible. That is 100% possible. So let's look at the first round matchups. Like I said, this is considering auto bid, so I think that's where you get some of the matchups that you get in. And kind of keep in mind of the teams that you have announced. So first round, we got LSU, number 8, versus 9 Alabama. This will be an excellent first round game. 2 SEC teams. These are teams that I think we have a high belief in, if I'm being honest. LSU, the sky's the limit for LSU this upcoming season. We look at Garrett Nussmeier, look at what they have, in the wide receiver room with Nick Anderson and Barry and Brown. You look at the running back in Caden Durham, somebody that Nino and D now highlighted on Debbie Darlings. Make sure you guys check out that show. You want to know who the next stars of the sports are? There's so many people that they hit on. Like Caden Durham was one of them. Sam Levitt was another one of them. Like they was talking about him before I heard, everybody else talking about him. Not saying other people weren't talking about him, because I don't want y'all to take that as face value and try to run with that. I ain't trying to hear none of that. I'm just saying I heard them talking about him early on. That's all I want to say. So that's a really good first battle. The second battle, we got Ohio State versus Boise State. And this game will be in Columbus. I don't think this is a sexy matchup. I don't think this is a matchup that we would want. But, looking at the grand scheme of things, so far we know the first four teams are, LSU versus Alabama, Ohio State versus Boise State. I mean, not a sexy matchup. This one would be in Columbus, just like the LSU-Alabama game would be in Baton Rouge. Imagine a playoff game in Baton Rouge. I think that's why a lot of us get so upset with LSU and some of our issues with Brian Kelly begin, because, an opening round playoff game in Baton Rouge, especially at nighttime, do you guys know what that would look like? That would be incredible. Like, we are talking about, one of the best atmospheres brought to the light, national TV, prime time, and it will be absolutely electric if they get to play one of their SEC foes. Do we know how amazing that would be? Do we truly know how amazing that would be? So that'd be a hell of a game. Ohio State and Boise State, not so much. And I see that they got Boise State in here. I'm interested with that, with Boise State being their G5 pick, because I believe UNLV got better. I think Toledo's going to have a say in it. I think Liberty has the best road to it. And don't count out Navy. There's a lot of really good G5 teams this year. I don't think it's just a one team that's going to run away with it. USF can present some challenges for some teams as well. They just have a tough early part of their schedule. But, my belief in, Byron Brown and Alex Golish is hot. It's up there. So we got another matchup. So Boise State is the first team I don't agree with. That's in this playoff. 6-11. This game will be in Athens, Georgia, as the Hurricanes of Miami will travel to Athens, Georgia to play the Bulldogs. And this game will be crazy. Think about this. Think about this game, right? So I think when we look at sexy games or we look at redemption games, like y'all remember the segment I did a few weeks ago? Well, I talked about players on a redemption tour. Could you imagine, remember when Georgia lost to Notre Dame in the college football playoff last year? It was like almost immediately following the game, maybe the next day or maybe 2 days later. I don't even think it's that long. I'm just being generous with the time frame. We saw Carson Beck announce he's entering the portal, and then we heard what team he was going to immediately after that, right? But imagine the redemption story this would be. Imagine how hyped, ESPN will be for this game. Imagine how hyped the media would be for this game. Like Carson Beck being able to have his Roy Jones, y'all must have forgot moment. That would be absolutely incredible. So when we look at the storylines, and I think for college football fans, it's not just about the games. It's about the storylines. Like, the reason we love College Game Day so much is because College Game Day, week in and week out, tell beautiful stories. Like, one of the stories I can think about is Jordan Travis. I didn't even know that Jordan Travis considered quitting college football at one point in time. Or we look at, the Jalen Hurts and, how his career ended in Tuscaloosa and how he refound himself in Norman, and how Lincoln Riley was able to, get him to where, he is now. So the reason we love these shows and a lot of these matchups is the storyline. So you look at Gunnar Stockton, versus Carson Beck. That would be one hell of a story. Carson Beck versus Kirby Smart. Carson Beck versus Glenn Schumann. Somebody who's seen him in, it'd be so many storylines. It'll be a great game. I just don't see Mario Cristobal and company making a college football playoff. And that's not a knock on the roster construction. That's not a knock on Mario Cristobal's ability to recruit, because he can recruit his tail off. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it confused. It's just, when I look at game management and I look at games that Miami could have won. Now, last year was an improvement. They won a game at Virginia Tech. They probably shouldn't have won. It came back and fought hard against Cal, won a game. But then they also had some letdowns last year as well. And when I look at the overall talent, I say, hey, this is a really talented team. Is it as talented as last season? I don't feel that way. I don't know if you guys feel that way, but me personally, I don't feel that way. So I think this would be a sexy matchup, and you talking about a matchup filled with storylines, and true college football fans will be interested to see this game. I'll be watching it. I'll be alive if I tell you I wouldn't be excited to see this. And would I be rooting for Miami? Absolutely. And this game will be in Athens, Georgia. So just imagine Carson Beck traveling to Athens, against all odds, you know what I'm saying? Like Tupac Shakur, and being able to go into Athens and get a win and say, screw you guys, go home. Like, just imagine him being able to do that. That would be incredible. Another game we got. This will be an interesting matchup. We will have Oregon, the Ducks traveling from Eugene and going into South Bend to play Notre Dame. It'd be a really interesting game. That would feel like a playoff game. We're talking about two teams that had a lot of success last season. It looks like Athlon Sports will have them having a lot of success this season. Really interesting game. I'm not mad at it. So the first round matchup, I'm not mad at these games. There's only one game that I hate absolutely. But the LSU-Alabama game, we got storylines. We got beef. We got two teams that don't like each other. We got Nussmeier. We got Ty Simpson. We got Brian Kelly. We got Kalen DeBoer. We got action. Love the game. Ohio State, Boise State. I hate the game. But anybody in it, it's not a knock at Boise State. Anybody that's in that matchup that will have to go to Columbus, whether it's Liberty, whether it's UNLV, whether it's Toledo, I don't like the matchup, period. But it would be good for the state of Ohio if it was like Toledo versus Ohio State. It just wouldn't be a good game. Georgia versus Miami is must-see TV. I just don't think that Miami will be there. Me being honest, I just personally don't believe they'll be there. And Oregon versus Notre Dame is a really good game as well. So now we got the quarterfinals. So Athlon Sports is giving the edge to Notre Dame. They got Georgia beating Miami. They got Ohio State beating Boise State. They got LSU beating Alabama. That gives us some really nice matchups. So in the quarterfinals for the Sugar Bowl, they got LSU versus Texas in the Sugar Bowl. That's a really nice matchup. I like that matchup a lot. You're talking about high-octane offenses. Steve Sarkisian versus Joe Sloan. Really nice matchup. I think both teams should be able to put up a lot of points. That'd be a really good matchup. Kansas State versus Ohio State. Like, if this was in Columbus, I wouldn't like this matchup. But neutral site in a Cotton Bowl, I would like that matchup. I really would. We have, Avery Johnson versus Julian Sand, or, whoever starting that quarterback for Ohio State. Not a bad matchup. I thought it was interesting that Athlon Sports had Kansas State winning the Big 12. So this is where we start to get where their mindset is. They got Texas winning the SEC, my apologies. Kansas State winning the Big 12. Clemson, who we'll talk about a little bit later, winning the ACC. And then you will have Penn State winning the Big 10. So I think these are the important things that we need to remember. So Texas versus LSU in the Sugar Bowl. Kansas State versus Ohio State. Athlon Sports has Texas beating LSU in the Sugar Bowl. It'll be a damn good game. They have Ohio State beating Kansas State. Kansas State, I think, is going to be better than advertised this year. Clemson versus Georgia. That will be in the Orange Bowl. That'd be a really good game. And ACC versus SEC throwback. Cade Klubnik and company, the higher rated seed. I still even think with them being a higher rated seed, there'll probably still be a dog in this game. And Athlon Sports is going Clemson. It's going Georgia to win this game. I will go absolutely Clemson to win this game. And Athlon Sports says too physical, too deep, too curvy. And then Penn State versus Notre Dame. Penn State will get their rematch, bro. They will get a rematch because I felt like Penn State should have won that game last year. It was just some plays that just didn't happen. Drew Allar just missed some throws that he typically wouldn't miss, right? So when we're looking at that, from the grand scheme of things, this would be a great, sexy matchup. That would be at the Rose Bowl. Physical style game. I think Jim Knowles will truly make the difference, and that they will find a way to be able to slow down Notre Dame. So the semifinals, here we go. We heading into round 3. We got Texas versus Ohio State in the Fiesta Bowl. That will be fireworks again. They got Texas winning that one. Then we got Penn State versus Georgia. They got Penn State winning that one. I think in the way that they constructed this playoff, it's what I think they believe are the best two teams in college football. Granted, the auto bids would change the layout of it a bit, so we wouldn't get some of the matchups that we got, even though I think some of these matchups are supremely sexy. But Penn State, Texas, if you look at a lot of people's top 25, you'll see those two teams. A lot of people had Penn State at number 1. I think I had Penn State at 3. And in my poll, I had Texas at number 1. I think this will be the game a lot of people will be excited to see. Styles make fights. There will be 2 different styles. I think this will be a great game. And Athlon Sports got Texas winning it all. So, some of my beefs with this. I told you guys earlier, I don't think Boise State is the best G5 team. And that's nothing against Boise State. I just think that Liberty has the easiest path. I truly do. They got the easiest path. I think other than, is it JMU? other than that, and even with them, Liberty will probably be favored in every game this year. They got the easiest schedule in all of college football. And even if we're not looking at them, let's stay in the Mountain West. UNLV, Dan Mullen and them is going to be real deal. Alex Orgia, quarterback. Jaden Thomas, a guy I like a lot at running back. I like their team. And even their backup, Calandria, who played at, UVA last year. So I don't know. I just think Toledo's going to be really good this year. Navy's going to be really good this year. USF is going to be really good this year. So it'll be interesting. So I don't agree with that. Florida not in the college football playoff, though. What's up with this Florida disrespect, man? Like ESPN disrespected Florida. I ain't saying Athlon disrespected Florida because I haven't looked at the SEC prediction for Athlon Sports, but we will get into that next week. I have looked at the ESPN one. The ESPN one got Florida going 6-6. I just don't see it. I really don't. It's too much talent on that roster. If they're not 9-3 or better, something has went terribly wrong. Schedule, you play the SEC gauntlet. It's going to be difficult every year, but it's nowhere near as difficult as it was last season. Make no mistake about it. Please make no mistake about it. So that's my final thoughts on that. So up next, we'll get into governor's ruling, and we're going to talk about college football 26 gameplay deep dive. I was able to watch it at work. Shout out to my boy Moon. Moon was holding it down on CFB Nation. I think Moon was live for almost 3 hours. So shout out to the dog. Typically, I try to be off for these. On Tuesday, I am off. So I'll probably go live with Moon for the Dynasty Deep Dive. That'll be pretty cool to do. Actually, I might save it. I might just let Moon go live, and then I'll, get my 2 cents in, during, Governor College Football, because we live at 4 p.m. My first thoughts of this game is that it looks good. It looks really good. Like, graphically, I think, on the generation of consoles we're on, I think they've kind of reached their limits graphically, but the player models look good. I think the players move a little bit better. They slowed the game down a little bit, and while college football is a fast-paced game, the game was really fast last year. So I like that they slowed the game down a little bit. Now, I don't want it to become Madden, but the plays that they added look really neat. Like, I saw that one. That was leaked, and I'm not going to say what Discord it was in, but that was leaked in another Discord. It looked like the plays are kind of true to Coach's playbook, so I can't wait to go look at Lincoln Riley's playbook because I'm a, air raid aficionado. Like, I understand the air raid through and through. Like, I don't want to see mesh. I want to see 92. I want to see 95. I want to see 94. I want to see 93. Like, I want to see the actual concepts. That's what I want to see in the game. That spin was cold. So I like a lot. And this is just me reacting before I get to the notes that EA Sports added. But this was a laser, bro. That was a hell of a throw. So the game looked better. How you guys feeling about the scorebook? I think the scorebook is a good place in between where Fox scorebug is, which a lot of people don't like Fox scorebug. They believe it's too big. In between the classic style of the scoreboard. I really like this feature. If you didn't see that one, that was Thomas Castellanos, who is shorter, and he's actually shorter than he's listed in the game. I've met him in real life. But like I said, overall, I was really impressed with how the game looked. The fact that you could do substitutions on the fly and you don't have to press start button. Because think about it. If you play Road to the College Football Playoff, right? The first thing everybody do is press start. Like, make your adjustments on the field, bro. Don't be pressing start and slowing the game up. I like the dynamic weather thing. I think interceptions was another thing. But before I get into too many news, let me, go down my notes so I make sure I hit everything. So, CFB 26, we're going to be at Big 12 Media Days when this game dropped, because of course I'm getting the game, on July 7th. So that'll present some interesting things. I'll be tweaking to play the game, but I got duties as a credentialed member of the media. I gotta make sure we take care of that. And like I said, I'm not gonna spoil who it is just yet, but we got a big interview coming up at Big 12 Media Days. Anyway, let's get into the game. The pace of play, it's slower, and that's good. One of the first things you'll notice, this is a Madden tempo. College Football 26 leans into college football rhythm. That means no snap and throw spam. Defenses can actually adjust pre-snap. Option-based defenses. Shout out Army, Air Force, 2014 Georgia Southern actually have a lane now. It's patient, strategic. You're not just running plays. You're running drives. EA finally understands the difference between college and NFL ball. And I think some of the people that I heard that were critical of the 25 game, I don't think they realized how much work this crew had to do to create a new game. There's not old coding you can use. It's a different console for starters. It's a different engine, they had to create this game from scratch. There was nothing that they had. There was no baseline to create this game. It had to be created from scratch. And I think sometimes as critics, and this is the difference between people who, review and critique stuff professionally and people who aren't professionals who are just being emotional. Like sometimes your emotion is getting the best of you. It's not your true feelings about the game. Granted, there's always going to be, things that are done better, right? We all agree with that. But if you're being emotional about it and you're not, coming from a sane perspective, nobody's going to hear you out if you're going to be leading with emotion. Like, they're just not. Just being real with you. Quarterback movement. No more ice skating. The quarterback mechanics finally real. No more frozen foot, Madden slide animation when trying to scramble. Instead, we're seeing step-up sensitivity. The pocket isn't just a blob. You actually fill the lanes for him. Beautiful. Acceleration windows through a threat. Quarterback matters again. So that's gonna be pretty good as well. Blocking. O-line matters. Zone blocking is alive. You heard me a lot. Inside zone runners can now pick cutback lanes with more clarity. Pulling guards actually locate defenders and seal the edges. It ain't perfect, but it's a revolution from past years. If you got a team like Wisconsin or Utah with Maulers up front, you feel it. Drives get nasty. And I think it was kind of cool how you could steer your blockers like where they should go. I think that's pretty good. Like, the skill set was something that they added last year. Like, when we creating, like, when skills start to matter and you're not just, spamming the same play. Like, everybody did the, F-twins over, jet sweep last year. And they can make anybody appear to be good, right? So I think this skill-based, some of these things that they're adding, they're skill-based things, and you can create more of a gap in between you and, who you're playing against. Use a defense. The skill gap is back. In the old days, you could just click on the safety, poster, everything else. Defense backs actually track the ball. Linebackers don't leap like superheroes, but they do read the play better. User lurks are nasty again if you have good instincts, but be careful. Overcommit, you're done. AI quarterbacks will punish you deep. And a lot of people are saying this might be, some of the best user defense that we've seen in years. Audible system pre-snap chess is back. This isn't your old school D-pad spam. The Audible system is sleek and mapped better for speed and realism. You got formation-specific hot routes now. That's cool. Smart safeties and quarterbacks. Actually, Audible based on the awareness rating. Crowd noise can prevent audibles in big stadiums. That's dope. I'm happy to see something like that. Think about strategy of calling plays at Death Valley at night with a freshman quarterback. Woof. Imagine how crazy that would be, dog. You got a freshman quarterback and you playing in Death Valley and you trying to make an audible, bro. It ain't happening, bro. That man is he gonna feel it for real. Tackling, weight and momentum return. Let's talk physics. For the first time ever, weight matters. A 200-pound running back will fall forward. Arm tackles won't work against somebody bigger type running back. Wrap ups, cut tackles, gang tackles, they're all registered based on momentum and speed. This is a beautiful thing. And yes, there are new tackle animations, especially on the sidelines. Playbook, scheme, and diversity are legit. You want the air raid, go call plays with, air raid style teams. Like Oklahoma will be an air raid team this year. Clemson will have a different playbook from Oklahoma, even though they're both air raid. Sam Houston, Phil Longo is their head coach. That's air raid. USC, that's air raid. But then you got somebody like a Tino Sinceri who's at UCLA who runs like a spread tempo type offense. So be pretty good. I like seeing that. Playbook identities, motion packages, personnel grouping. So they got like 11 personnel, 12 personnel. That's really cool. And then you can truly build a scheme. So I like that type of stuff. Like me personally, like I will spend hours just working on my playbook, setting up my audibles. I'll create a play call sheet. Like I'm that person. I'm a nerd when it comes to playing video games. So especially sports-based video games, because I want to be the best. And the fact that we got cross-play this year, so all y'all who play this game and think y'all legit that want to jump in the dynasty, let me know. And I'm telling you, it's about to be a problem, bro. So crowd impact. I mean, the crowd impact, like it looked even more intense, and I thought they did a great job with it last year, because my number one thing heading into, college football 25 was, hey, is this thing going to feel like a college football game? Like, are we going to get the traditions? Are we going to get the pageantry? Are we going to get the things that make college football so special? Like, because, for me, I can be in a college football stadium no matter what game I'm watching, but the crowd is into it. The fans are into it. It's just it's such a nuance. It's difficult to explain. Well, I can go to an NFL game and it can be intense but boring at the same time, if that makes sense. So I love that the crowd impact is going to be a real thing. That's incredible to see. It's truly incredible to see. So let's look at some other things, from this game. Play deep dive. Like I said, I really like the way the models look. The models look cleaner to me. The scoreboard looks cleaner to me. I think this is going to be a really fun game. It should compete up there. One of the best games. That kicker meter right there on that play looked crazy. But like I said, there's just things you got to deal with. Look at that kick. I think he still missed the kick, which is crazy. So I love what they've done with the gameplay. They have to get Dynasty right, though. And the Dynasty Deep Dive, I think, is on Tuesday. So I'm interested to see where we at with that. That was a good tackle. Was that Kyle Lewis? That was a really good tackle. So let's look at some more of the information that EA Sports had on this game as far as like anything I may not have covered. So how you guys feeling about the game overall? That's kind of the question I have for everybody. I know some people were really turned off by last year's game. I think a lot of people were just turned off with, they felt like the game was broken. I felt like you can adjust to almost everything. Were there certain plays that were difficult to stop? Yes. But I feel like overall you can make adjustments to just about anything. So let's look at this campus huddle and kind of look at, what they're saying about the game. Hey there, college football fans. Welcome back to Campus Huddle. Your source for all news and all that crap. So the pregame. This year our gameplay model is what we call for a 4-minute offense. Why? Because after putting points on the board last year, we wanted to come right back out, take control, march down the field again, and put the game away. This means staying true to foundational vision, contributing to solve football problems with football solutions, and executing on what matters most. I always get nervous when influencers have a great hold on the developers of video games, because depending on who you ask, you get a million different answers. Like I played NBA 2K and I love the comp scene. I love playing Pro-Am on NBA 2K. Love playing with the fellas and playing strategy based basketball. But I feel like a lot of the nuance goes to game modes where we're spending a lot of money, and depending on who you ask, they may not be or consider themselves a comp player, or they just prefer to play casually. So the game may be catered toward those who play casually, if that makes sense. So with this, I feel like people are college football fans first. I feel like most of the influencers who play this game, and there's a couple of people who are NFL fans first, and I get it, but a lot of these people are college football fans first, and I think that's important. You gotta love this sport. You gotta love everything about this sport. I think the fact that dynasties are going to be a lot more chaotic this year, I'm really excited about that. It should be difficult to retain your players year in and year out. It should truly be difficult to retain your players. So, all 22 plus, continued emphasis on player control and player differentiation, with the plus speaking out about everything that surrounds the 4 lines. Play your way, more customization and tools for players to make them feel like their favorite signal callers, while building on team differentiation and offering 136 plus ways to play. Stories of Saturday. I told y'all, the reason we love college game day is the storylines. I'm telling you. Dynamic stubs. Dynamic stubs is crazy. No more pausing, just playing. But as long as football games exist, making substitutions meant pausing the game, diving into menus, and breaking the flow of the action with the addition of wear and tear and confidence and composure. You told us you wanted more options when it came to moving players in and out. They listened. And the fact, I know you guys can't see it now. Yeah, actually you can. The sub tray open, and you got sub packages based on a play. Like, if I got my starting quarterback, right? I say my starting quarterback is, I don't know who the name, but let's just say, for instance, your starting quarterback isn't a dual threat quarterback. He's a pocket passer, and, there's a formation that you like where you got a really good option play, and you want to sub that quarterback in real quick. The fact that I don't got to hit the start button or, formation subs where it's like that every time, but there may be certain plays that I want it. But the fact you got your wear and tear, like where they're hurting that, what it affects the overall, your status, I think that's pretty cool that, we're going to be able to do all of that. So that's really cool. So sub control is crazy. Smarter subbing with tailored filters. I like that. Defense manages your entire defense unit at once or quickly jump into specific groups like linebackers, defensive linemen, offense cycle between your players, full offense, skill players, or offensive line. So that's cool. Like just to be able to have that control on the fly, I think that is very important. So shout out to everybody who got to play the game early, and the people who are constantly in contact with the devs, and people like Skylo Gallagher, who I remember from when he was back, with 2K. That's pretty cool, and I'm glad that it seems now this thing may be different when I actually play the game, but it seems like the people that they're listening to care about college football first, and I think that is super important. Trying to hit on anything else. Expanded archetypes is really cool, so I'm glad that they went to expanded archetypes. The out of body experience. I always explain to people, my first game at Lane Stadium, seeing Enter Sandman, it was an outer body experience. And I'm sure, if I go to, Baton Rouge or go to, Cal Field, College Station, it will be the same thing. Or I go to a whiteout game, I'm sure it will be the same thing where you feel like you're witnessing this, but from a different perspective. Like it's not from your perspective. Like you're outside of your body and you're looking like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's the feeling that I want every time I go to a college football game. And of course you're not going to get that every time. Because like I said, we go to all levels of games, whether it's FBS, from a big time game or to like, G5 game or even like a FCS or a Division II game. We go to it all. So the cost of greatness, ability, and wear and tear integration. I wasn't the biggest fan of wear and tear last season. Did I turn it off? No, I didn't. But I wasn't the biggest fan. And I get it. Over the course of the game, players are getting beaten. I get it. But sometimes I feel like the inverse didn't happen. Like where a running back is hot and he's starting to physically beat down the defense. I feel like the defense didn't get beat down as much. Now I'm interested to see will that happen this year though. 100% interested in seeing if that will happen. Greater playbook individuality. You'll immediately notice the difference between Air Force's flex mode DNA and USC's vertical attack or the air raid. These aren't just roster-based differences. They are true philosophical fingerprints. All months of deep dives and expert insight. Every single one of our 136 playbooks have been handcrafted and reflect real-life play calling and personnel packages. I love it. From Miami's modern air raid to Iowa State's power spread, every team has unique feel. Every user has real jumping off point to build or customize their identity. We got new motion types. Reload, bounce, escort, boomerang. I use different type of motion types. I use a different vernacular for mine. Double motion plays, expanded quarterback running RPO variety. Quarterbacks are centerpiece of modern offenses, and they are more involved than ever. From old school veer reads and modern pop passes to the sprint out options and design quarterback powers, your signal caller now has the full menu. Notre Dame, Utah, and dozens of other teams now fit your playbooks where the quarterback truly runs the show. Literally. That is exciting. So this is just a lot of the news. Make sure you go to easports.com/games, go to College Football 26, and you can truly deep dive into, everything that's been going on with this game. So we're going to go ahead and take an ad break, and then we get into our last segment, Around the Nation, and we're going to look at Athlon Sports Big 12 preview. We'll be right back. Look at you out here using all these other sports books and you ain't even using the best one. BetUS. Get 125% match bonus when you use the promo code CFB Nation. Yeah, you heard me correctly. 125% match bonus on your first deposit using that code CFB Nation. We know that college football is in the off season, even though we don't celebrate that. CFB Nation, we do college football 24/7. But there are plenty of things for you guys to bet on.
Who will have the most wins? OKC Thunder or Cleveland Cavaliers? Can Luka and LeBron make it all mesh to make it to the play-in tournament? Maybe you're a college basketball guy ready to risk it all for Florida to make it to the big dance.
Basketball isn't for you? Maybe you're a football guy. Well, BetUS got you covered with this year's UEFA Championship. Can Liverpool or Barcelona win it all? Will Erling Haaland or Harry Kane lead their teams to victory?
May is going to get popping when the Kentucky Derby hits town. BetUS has you covered in that way too, with all major horse racing events. Point is, type in that promo code CFB Nation and go get that money.
Alrighty, Around the Nation, Athlon Sports Big 12 prediction. we'll kind of know who the winner is already. As you think about the Athlon Sports playoff, preview that we did earlier, they had Kansas State and for the Big 12. So we'll look at how they feel about the teams. We'll look at the rankings versus my rankings. I think a lot of you already kind of know where I'm at with the Big 12. I'm really comfortable in my stance with the Big 12. I wasn't initially. I was like, I like Iowa State a lot. I still like Iowa State a lot, but I'm starting to like Baylor more. I think Texas Tech can be dangerous this year. But let's look at Athlon Sports and see what they have to say about each team. And we'll offer some critique ourselves on this matter as well. So let's get into it. Alrighty. So this is Around the Nation. We're going to kind of take a look at the Big 12 and kind of see where Athlon Sports rate each of the teams. It's magazine season. We should be excited about this. And shout out to everybody who's watching the show right now, man. Make sure you guys like, comment, share, subscribe. Make sure you guys go on Spotify, search Governor of College Football. Make sure you like it. Make sure you give it a 5-star rating. Make sure you engage that notification bell and do the same thing on YouTube. Search at Governor of College Football and do the same thing there. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I appreciate you guys being here on a Friday evening. Y'all gonna be anywhere doing anything, man. But y'all listening to the Governor. I appreciate that. So coming in number 1 is Kansas State. I think a lot of people feel really strongly about Kansas State. You look at the team, check. We love Dylan Edwards. We love Avery Johnson. Chris Kleeman is one of the best coaches in all of college football. And you look at Kansas State last year, it was really close. They just had games last year that, I don't know, like the BYU game was one of those games. Scott has his feet placed upon him in the BYU game last year. Look at the Colorado game. Colorado really had opportunities to win the game. Kansas State was able to seal the deal. But, when you look at this Kansas State team, you look at Avery Johnson, you look at, his skill set and the abilities that he have, I can see how somebody look at this team and say, hey, this Kansas State team is real deal and they could possibly, win the Big 12. I see it 100%. Coming in at number 2 is Arizona State. I think a lot of people are starting to look at the Big 12 the same way that I look at the Big 12. I look at the Big 12 like, hey, it's a lot of talented teams here, elite level quarterback play, the best quarterback play in all of college football. But, when you look at the teams, you look at the construction of the rosters, you look at the overall landscape of the Big 12, and if you look at it for the last several years, you start to think to yourself like, all righty, wait a minute. Every year we seem to have a surprise team. Last year, Arizona State was that surprise team. I voted last year. Yeah, I did. I'm a credential member, media member of the Big 12. I voted last year. Who was the team I had dead last? I don't want to say it aloud, but it was Arizona State. I had them dead last year. And in retrospect, do I regret it? Yes. But, at that time period, the intel that I had, I just wasn't sure because the 2023 season was abysmal. So I wasn't sure where they're at. But Kelly Dillingham, as a coach, made a leap. His staff made a leap. They constructed a much better roster, so I could see it. But there was a few teams last year I was just completely wrong about. The opposite direction, Arizona. I was a huge believer in, Tata Ora McMillan, T-Mac, who's down in the NFL. Huge believer in Noah Fafita. I still believe in Noah Fafita. I know that'll probably rub some of y'all the wrong way. I still believe in Noah Fafita. I do not think what we saw in 2023 was a fluke. I just don't feel like that was a fluke. I think that was legitimately him. Did he regress last season? Absolutely. But it's just interesting to see, like somebody like a Connor Wegman. He's another guy that I believe in a lot. I think his chip on his shoulder at Houston this year, I just think Houston will be much improved. I truly do feel that way. So number 1, Kansas State, per Athlon Sports. Number 2, Arizona State. Really good team. We saw what they was able to do last year. I ain't taking nothing away from them dudes. At all. They was able to win a lot of ball games last season. Can they repeat it? That's the number 1 question. Can they repeat it? Can they do what they did last year? Kenny Dillingham would like to think so. He said, I want us to become one of the blue bloods of this conference. And what he meant, he wanted a repeated effect year in, year out. When you look at the Big Ten and you think, hey, who can win the Big Ten? You think Ohio State. When you look at the SEC and say, hey, who's going to win the SEC, you immediately start thinking Georgia or Alabama, just based on recent memory. I think, when you start looking at the Big 12, I think Kenny Dillingham said, hey, there's an opening here. Texas is gone. Oklahoma is gone. I look at us as the cream of the crop of this conference. Why can't we win this conference year in and year out? So I'm happy to see it. I truly am. But I just know the makeup of this conference. I know every year we get a surprise team, and I'm betting on that surprise team this year is Baylor. So I'm just betting on it. 100%. Texas Tech at 3. All in all pressure. Joy McGuire and company have to get this right. What we always talk about, eliminating excuses. Your number one job as a head coach is to eliminate excuses. That's your number one job. You look at your roster, you look how you build it. If you've been able to build it in high school, you like it a lot. If you start to lose some of those high school pieces, via the portal, via because people aren't happy, because they've been buried on a depth chart, then you have to start looking at the construction of your roster like a puzzle piece. Like, hey, this puzzle is like, 80% complete. It's like 75% complete. I love what we had at defensive line. I love what we have at linebacker. Secondary is a cause for pause. That's a question that I have right now, right? So then you go get active in the portal, eliminate excuses, and say, hey, our number one focus was secondary. We was able to bring in, people, secondary players to come and help and fit this piece of our puzzle. Joey McGuire's been able to eliminate all excuses, but what happens when you eliminate all excuses at this level? At the collegiate level, when you eliminate all excuses, there's now more pressure on the head coach. It's like, okay, wait a minute. This team is talented. They gave up a lot of points last season, including giving up 59 points to Baylor last year. All right, let's fix this defense. Let's get active in the portal. Let's have the number one portal class. What I've been able to do, as far as recruiting, we should be okay. Beverly Morton at quarterback. So, yeah, all in, all pressure. Yeah, 100%. I agree with Athlon Sports, 100%. All in, all pressure. You've eliminated the excuses. But when we get those elimination of excuses, then we start playing the blame game. Like, you eliminated the excuses. You had a really good roster. What happened? Same question I asked for Miami last year. What happened? Same question I asked for Penn State last year and this year. What happened? What's going to happen? Those are questions I like to propose. Iowa State at number 4 is kind of low, in my opinion, for Iowa State. I think Iowa State's still a really good team. I know they lost, plethora of talent to the NFL, but Rocco Beck is still there. I still believe in Rocco Beck's ability. I think he is fantastic. Like what Matt Campbell has been able to build there, Iowa State is going to compete. I know I've seen some anonymous source say they believe that Iowa State may regress this year, but y'all know how I feel about anonymous sources. Just say who you are, bro. Stop being scared, bro. Ain't nobody gonna punch you in your face. Tired of hearing about them. Number 5, Baylor. Baylor is a team I think will win the Big 12. You look at what David Rand group was able to do last year, starting the season 2-4, running off 6 straight games. Finishing the season 8-4. No small feat. They did lose to LSU in their bowl game, but Baylor is built to win. I think Sawyer Robinson is the best quarterback in that conference. I think, Bryson Washington, the best running back in that conference. Josh Cameron is certainly one of the best wide receivers and all-purpose, players in that conference as well. You look at the totality of this team, Mike Trigg, one of the better tight ends in that conference. You just look at the totality of this team. It's offensive heavy. They got a 1-2 punch at running back. They got depth at wide receivers. I think their defense can build. I just like what Baylor brings to the table. Baylor is my pick to go to the playoff in the Big 12. I think they'll win the Big 12. And I also think Big 12 only gets one team into the college football playoff. So if you're not the number 1 seed in the Big 12, so if Baylor finishes 2, I don't think they get none. I just don't. I just think that the SEC will be that good. I think the ACC will get 2. My 2 in the ACC or Clemson and Louisville. I think Big 10 will get 3 or 4 and the SEC will get 3 or 4. That's just the name of the game. So it'd be nice to see the Big 12 get 2 because I think it's the funnest conference in college football. And I believe that, though. It ain't me just saying it. It's something that I truly believe. It's the conference that I enjoy. I love elite quarterback play. So, boom, there it is. Number 6, Utah. Utah was one of the preseason favorites last year. A lot of us look at last year and say, what happened? 5-7 isn't Utah ball, bro. It just isn't. But it'd be interesting to see what happened with David Dampier this year. These will be interesting in Utah. I know some people are high on them. I don't know. So BYU was listed as number 7. I think people would be higher on BYU if they knew what was going on with Retzlaff. if people 100% knew what was going on with Retzlaff, BYU would be higher on this list because we saw the physicality that BYU brung. Like, they put hands and feet on you last year. They physically beat you last season. But a lot of us feel like if Retzlaff ain't playing, our feelings just aren't the same. Kansas, what's going on with Kansas? Where we are with Lance Leopold? Where are we with Jalon Daniels? Can Jalon Daniels stay healthy? You know, the good people of Lawrence, Kansas, you know, deserve a Big 12 title run. They truly do. Is TCU a dark horse again? You know, are we, you know, Josh Hoop was one of the best quarterbacks in the conference. Sonny Dykes, where is he at? We'll get a good test to figure out where TCU is at week 1 versus UNC. It's really good. Colorado, where they at? Colorado at 10. I think Colorado's either going to be the surprising team this year or they're not going to be very good at all. And I hope that they're the surprising team. Because Caden Salter is my CTV. I've got to see Caden Salter a lot. I'm a season credential member at Liberty. That means over the last 2 or 3 years, I've been able to see Caden Salter an awful lot. Didn't look the same last year. I think that his intensity is back. He really wanted to go play at the P4 level. After the 2023 season, he felt like he'd done enough, and he did do enough. Houston, number 11, Fritz, year 2 magic. Connor Wegman. It's going to all lie on Connor Wegman. Connor Wegman may have his Roy Jones, y'all must have forgot moment. He truly may have that moment. And I'd be excited for him if he has that moment. Cincinnati, where are we with Scott Satterfield? When I start thinking about coaches that can get fired mid-season, first of all, let me address this. I'm not hoping any coach gets fired. I'm not saying that. But it's our duty as, you know, people, credential, you know, members of the media to be honest. So if we start looking at coaches, and, you know, some of the first coaches that come to mind, you may think of Mike Loxley at Maryland. I hope he doesn't get fired. I've been around the program. He's a leader of men. Like, I think he's a really good coach. You know, same thing. Who else? Luke Fickell. You know, we may not want to admit it, but he's probably on the hot seat. Brent Venables. We probably don't want to admit it, but he's probably on the hot seat. But when I start looking at coaches, and I say, hey, who could be some of the first coaches at the P4 level? G5, it'll be a different answer. But at the P4 level, at least, who can be some of those guys that are on the hot seat, right? Well, somebody that's fired early. I look at Sam Pittman and I look at Scott Satterfield. Cincinnati could quietly shut me the hell up, and they be the team in the Big 12 this year that just comes out of nowhere. It could be. Do I think that'll happen? No. But Scott Satterfield is doing the work. But I'm just interested to see what happens. Arizona at 15, Athlon Sports. You got some explaining to do because I don't agree with that at all. I think they'll be much improved. I really do. UCF at 16, finishing, you know, worse in the conference. Athlon Sports says frost warning. That's crazy. That's diabolical. I don't like that at all. So this is the recap of their predictions. They got Kansas State being the first best team in the conference, Arizona State second, Texas Tech third, Iowa State fourth, Baylor, the team that I think they'll be the best this year, at 5, Utah at 6, BYU at 7. I think a lot of that looms on what's going on with Retzlaff. 8, Kansas, 9, TCU, 10, Colorado, 11, Houston, 12, Cincinnati, 13, Oklahoma State. Mike Gundy is another coach. He's another coach that I would hate to see him get fired, but he's another one. West Virginia at 14. How we feeling about West Virginia this year? I think West Virginia may be better than advertised. I think the Rich Rod effect in Morgantown will be real. Let me know how you guys are feeling about that. Arizona, like I said, I think they'll be improved. 16, UCF. And this is Athlon Sports Big 12 predictions. How you guys feeling about that? I know I talk about the Big 12 a lot, but I truly love the Big 12. It's been a fun episode, man. I feel like this one went by fast. Maybe I say that one I've said about all the episodes. But we're live again Monday. I think Monday is what? June 23rd. And I think the following Monday 6:30, that whole week will probably be a lot of Big 12 talk. So I need everybody to get ready for that. It's going to be a lot of Big 12 talk because we got Big 12 Media Days a week from then. And it's going to be gearing up for, you know, my expectations of each team, the players I'm most excited to see. I'm just excited for the conference overall, and I'm excited to go to Big 12 Media Days. They're kind of going to kick off our, you know, Media Days kickoff. I know that the Sun Belt really wants us to come to their Media Days. I'm not sure we'll be able to make that happen because we will be at ACC during that time. We've been in talks with SEC to kind of figure out what's going on with CFB Nation and the SEC. Not that there's anything wrong. I'm just saying that, you know, we've done the work. You know, we should be there. But that'll be kind of midway in between ACC and well, Big 12 will be first. Then like the SEC is in the middle. The ACC and the Big 10, we kind of never catch theirs only because it's during ACC, and ACC has showed us more love than any other conference. So hopefully we get to talk with the SEC, kind of figure out what's going on, and then we'll be at SEC Media Days as well, and that'll be cool to go to all three. It'll be a lot of flying, but you know we got to provide you guys this content. Also, we'll be at Radio Row for Big 12. Hopefully, Radio Row for ACC as well. But that's gonna be fun, man. We got a lot of things in store. So, like I said, this upcoming week we'll do more magazine talk. I may do a mail. I haven't done a mailbag thing yet, but I'm thinking about doing that. So, if you guys got some questions, got some things you guys want me to answer, I'll be more to answer that. I'll probably do something similar to what Jalen did, a community post. Submit your mailbag questions, and then we'll bring them up and talk about them on the show. But the week of 6:30, that Monday, it's all Big 12 prep. So, I'm sorry to the SEC. AC, you know, your team, your favorite teams in the ACC, SEC, Big 10, you know, any of the Group of 5 conferences, but it will be heavily focused on, just like when it's time for the other conferences, we'll focus on them as well, but kind of my expectations. And then Governor of College Football will probably be live 3 hours a day during media days. That's the type of content that I want to give you guys. 3 hours a day. I know we normally do the evening, but I'm talking about early. I'm talking about I want to get to the venue early, get set up early. We will be on Radio Row, and then I don't know what time it starts because it'll be Central Time, but it'll probably be like 5 a.m. Central Time to probably 8 a.m. Central Time. That'll be early. If that's too early for y'all, let me know. But if you're in the East Coast, it's not. But on the West Coast, I'm sorry, it probably will be early. But I want to go live every day for like 3 hours, and I want the show to get interrupted. Like if we got somebody, we can pull them in for an interview. We pull them in for an interview. I just wanted to be organic, man. I truly appreciate each and everybody that watches this, watches all of our other CFB Nation content. We're truly growing as a brand. We got a lot coming for you guys this summer, and I'm excited about it. As I always like to say, there are no more victories in a sport that survive in advance. That's why college football has the greatest regular season. And until next time, I see you guys Monday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You all take care. Governor of college football, we're going to recap ACC.
Hey, that's
Great
CJ on
defensive
that
minds.
track.
They have to be better on that side of the ball.